Today's lesson is Module 3, Lesson 7, Ordering Integers and Other Rational Numbers. And the first thing we're going to do is go over a few notes as reminders about order on a number line. So the first thing I want you to remember is that numbers increase in value as they move to the right on a number line. So that is when you're talking about negative numbers or positive numbers. The furthest to the right they are says that it has the most value. So then next we're going to talk about the opposite of that. Numbers will decrease in value as they move to the left on the number line. Again, that works for positive and negative numbers. The next thing I want you to take note of is 0 and positive numbers have more value than negative numbers. And finally, the last thing that I want you to note is negative numbers have more value the closer they are to 0 on the number line. So for example, if I have the number line from -5 to 5 here, I know that the numbers on the right side are getting bigger. So as numbers go to the right, they get bigger. As numbers go to the left, they get smaller. And it doesn't just mean for positive and versus negative, it's positive and negative. So for example, you could say that -5 is less than -1 because it is furthest from 0. So 0 is more to the right, so it's the bigger value. And then you could also say that 2 is greater in value than -4 because it is furthest to the right. So 2 is farther to the right than -4, so it has more value. So on this number line here, the number with the greatest value is 5, and the number with the least value is -5. If you need more time to get those notes, you can go ahead and pause your video, rewind, and go back and get those notes. Otherwise, I would like for you to take out your math book and open it up to page S25. We are in Lesson 7, Module 6.3. And we are going to go over this first part, this exercise together, and then I'm going to give you some practice on your own. Part A says, graph on the number line 7 and its opposite. So the first thing I do is I graph the 7, and I know that its opposite is -7 because they are both 7 units from 0. And then it says graph the number 5 and its opposite. So here's number 5, and its opposite is -5, again, because they are both 5 units from 0. Part B says, where does 7 lie in relation to 5? So I look at 7, and I look at 5, and I see 7 is 2 units to the right of 5. So I'm going to write 7 is 2 units to the right of 5. For part C, it says, where does the opposite of 7 lie on the number line relation to the opposite of 5? So now I'm going to go over here to its opposites, and I can see that 7 is 2 units. But this time it's on the left. So this time I'm going to say -7 is 2 units to the left of -5. I'm thinking of two numbers. The first number lies to the right of the second number on a number line. What can you say about the location of their opposites? So for this, I'm just going to talk this through. So I'm going to imagine if they were thinking of 3, and I say it's to the right of the other number, so I'm going to say the other number is 2. When I graph their opposites, that'll be -2 and -3. I can say that it is, I can say that my first number was 1 unit from my second number, so then its opposite is 1 unit to the left. It would be to the left of the number. Now we're going to go on to example number 1. The record of low temperatures in a town in Maine are -20 degrees Fahrenheit for January and -19 degrees Fahrenheit for February. Order the numbers from least to greatest. Explain how you arrived at the order. Well, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about a number line, and I'm not going to number all the way to -20, but I'm just going to start counting at maybe -15. Now I know that numbers as they go to the right, they're bigger, and to the left, they're smaller. So if this -20 was for January and -19 was for February, it says order the number from least to greatest. I know that the furthest it goes to the left is smaller, so my smallest number is -20, and my biggest number is -19. And I know this because -19 is farther to the right, and that means it has more value. Now I want you to turn the page, and you are going to do numbers 3 and 4 on your own or with a partner. And so I want you to pause the video and answer these questions and then come back and check your work. Okay, so let's review number 3. Mr. Rodriguez is a teacher at Westbury Middle School. She gives bonus points on tests for outstanding written answers and deducts points for answers that are not written correctly. She uses rational numbers to represent the points. She wrote the following students' papers. Student A, -2 points. Student B, -2.5 points. Did student A or student B perform better on the test? Or I'm sorry, perform worse on the test. So who got the worst score? So you should have made a number line, and you could see that the number line went by halves. So I went ahead and graphed -2 and -2.5. And I can see that -2.5 is furthest to the left, which means they got the worst score on the test. So my answer says student B got the worst score on the test. For question 4, a carp swimming approximately 8.25 feet beneath indicates that it's negative, the water surface, and a sunfish swimming approximately 3.5 feet beneath, again negative, the water surface. Which fish is swimming further beneath the water surface? So I made a number line, all using negative numbers because both numbers are negative, and then I graphed both 3.5 and 8.25. And because I can see the 8 1/4 is the furthest from 0, that means it's the deepest in the water. So then I answered, the carp is swimming further beneath the water surface because it is furthest from 0. Next, we're going to go on to example 2. In example 2, it says, Henry, Janet, and Clark are playing a card game. The object of the game is to finish with the most points. The score at the end of the game was Henry, -7, Janet, 0, and Clark, -5. Who won the game and who came in last place? So those are my 2 questions. So I'm going to go ahead and write those sentence starters. Blank won the game and blank came in last. Okay, now it says use a number line to model. So I'm going to make a number line. And I can see that I have 0 and -7 and -5. So I don't need every single number. That's the nice thing about number lines when you can make up your own. You can put on only the values that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and label. This was Henry. This is Janet. And this is Clark. So I'm looking for the greatest value to find out who won. The furthest to the right is Janet. The furthest to the left tells me who lost, and that's Henry. And then it says, and explain how you arrived at your answer. So I'm going to write exactly what I just said. The player that is farther to the right is Janet. And I know numbers increase to the right. The player farther to the left is Henry. And I know value decreases to the left. Now you're going to go on and do exercise 5 on your own. So go ahead and pause the video, answer number 5, and then come back and check your work. Okay, let's review exercise 5. It says for each problem, order the rational numbers from least to greatest by first reading the problem, then drawing the numbers on the number line. So Henry, Janet, and Clark were playing another round in the card game. Their scores this time are as follows. Clark, -1, so you can see I modeled that here. Janet, -2, so I modeled that here. And Henry, -4, so I modeled that here. It says who won and who came in last place. Since Clark is the furthest to the right, Clark won. Since Henry is the furthest to the left, Henry lost. So the numbers from least to greatest are -4, -2, and -1. Today's assignment is for you to do the problem set that goes with this lesson. And it says, in the table below, list each set of rational numbers in order from least to greatest and list their opposites. Finally, list the opposites in order from least to greatest. The first one has been done for you. So you can see if they give you negative 7.1 and negative 7.25. They ordered them from least to greatest. Then they wrote the opposites of those numbers, and then they ordered the opposites from least to greatest. And you're going to finish the chart. Then on the back side is the exit ticket. And I'm going to ask that you make sure that you modeled with a number line, and then make sure that you give an answer to explain. If you have any questions, please ask.